So guys, hello. In the beginning, when you start Blender, you will see this particular window. And in the first time you start it, you will see another window before that. You have to just click OK or accept or whatever. And then when you get this window, you just click out of it. Just click somewhere out of this window and you will get this. So now it seems a little bit scary with all those things on the side and everything and what's happening here. What is this grid? But we will explain everything, so don't worry about it. We will go through everything. I will quickly do an overview of all those things that you see on the screen right now. And then we will start doing things little by little and explain everything in more detail. So first, here on the left upper part, you have your tools. And those tools are changing depending on what mode you are on. There are different modes here. The most used are object mode, which we are now, object mode. You can go to edit mode, sculpt mode, vertex paint, weight paint, texture paint, but those painting modes are not important at all for now. The important is object mode, edit mode, and sculpt mode, in which we will work. Of course, in object mode, you are creating objects, you are deleting objects, you are doing all those things in object mode. In edit mode, you're going inside each object, and then you can extrude some parts, you can move the vertices inside this object, which is great. In sculpt mode, you can sculpt like with real clay, and you will see that. Of course, for sculpting, I recommend to have a nice graphic tablet. This is my stylus of my tablet. My tablet is the cheapest Wacom tablet, which is one by Wacom. It's not Wacom One. It's one by Wacom, the cheapest Wacom tablet. It's great. You can find it secondhand, probably for very low amount of money. I have a few because I bought them secondhand and they were a very, very good deal. So now I'm using this tablet and it's amazing, and I am able to do my work, freelance and everything with this tablet, which is great. So let's analyze something else. So here on the top you see File, Edit, Render, Windows and Help. Those are your normal file, save as. From here you save as, you save. From here you can quit also, which nobody does. Everybody presses the X, which you don't see here, but whatever. Of the window, you have new, open, recover. Sometimes we need this. In edit, you have preferences, which is important, and you have add-ons. So these add-ons are important at some point, because you have a lot of add-ons coming in with Blender itself, but they're turned off. Most of them are off. We will turn on just a couple of them, like one or two, just to be able to work a little bit more efficient. Very, very nice. Input navigation, we will go through this at some point. But for now, let's leave it as that. We press X and close it. So this here is your working area. In this area, the most important thing in every 3D program is to work in this area, to be able to rotate, to be able to move, to be able to pan, to zoom. This is the most important thing. So let's go through it, how to do it. Let me first turn on my, you don't have to have this. This is my program for the shortcut, so you can see what I'm pressing. This menu here that I just showed, it's, you see, I pressed the N key. So shortcuts in Blender overall are very important. They are amazingly important. And of course, in the beginning, it will be very difficult for you to start working with all the shortcuts. I've put most of the most used shortcuts in one big JPEG file, picture, in the project files. So you can check them out if you have some doubts about it. So what you will see here, in the beginning, we always have a cube, we always have one light, we always have one camera. So you can just select them by pressing the left mouse button, and you can just select each and every one of them. If you press someplace else, it just has to deselect everything, although the camera is still selected. So next thing, before we learn how to rotate and everything, which is the important part, but still, let me show you here. This is where you can see all your stuff in the screen, what you have in your scene. So all the meshes that you will have, you can group them here in collections, like folders, you can group them. And this is camera, this is light, this is cube. as they say. If you double click on something, you can rename it. For example, unnecessary, because the cube usually we delete it, but whatever, it doesn't matter now. So we have this, and we can add more, but more of that later. So you see all those things in here, and the next thing here on the bottom right is your basically stuff. So here you can find, if we select the cube, for example, you can put materials on the cube. You can have your object data properties here. You can have the render properties here. You can have the tool properties. You have a lot of things, and the most important, modifiers. The modifiers are one of the most important things that we will use here. But as I said, I will go briefly through those things like I did, and I will explain them much more later, and I will go through each and all those things many times through the duration of the course. So don't worry about it. If you are very confused, if everything is like, oh, what is this? There are so many things. Don't worry about it. Everything will be clear in some time. Of course, practice is the only and best way to get better in everything. So be careful and try to practice what I teach you here. So first, let's go here. How to rotate around the cube, for example. So we press the middle mouse button. So the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel, if you press it, is the way to navigate in Blender. And then Control and Shift. So the middle mouse button is your rotation. If you press Control and then the middle mouse button, you will zoom in and out. Of course, you can zoom in and out with just scrolling, but this gives you a little bit more control. Control and middle mouse button and move the mouse. And then Shift and middle mouse button will move the scene. Very nice. So practice this. Try to center your cube. If you lose it at some point and you cannot find it, it's very easy. You're lost. You want to go home. Just press the home button on your keyboard. Home. And you basically will go home. And you will see your scene and everything on it. So this is one of the shortcuts that I'm showing you. So home is an important shortcut, and it's very easy to remember. Just place home on your keyboard and you will go home. Even if you are like very much away from it and everything is lost. No, I'm lost. Home. Press home and you go. Okay, go home. Now, the other thing we have to remember is, no, this is the most important. Rotation and rotation, panning around and zooming is the most important thing. If you cannot do this quickly and efficiently, you will not be able to model, you will not be able to sculpt. This is the pinnacle of any 3D program. And in order to do it properly, you have to practice. You have to practice a lot. You have to do a lot of things. And in all those things, you have to constantly rotate and zoom in and see your object from all sides and everything. Otherwise, you will be doomed. You know, you also have a context menu in which you can shade smooth, for example, or shade auto smooth. It doesn't matter. We don't have to do those things. But the context menu with the right mouse button can give you some options in some areas. So what can we do now? We can try a few things which are interesting making with this cube. Why not? So in order to work inside the cube, to work with the vertices, to move the vertices, to make sure we extrude some things, we can make a tower, for example, we have to go inside the edit mode of this cube. So changing modes is done by going here in the upper left corner of the screen. There is object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode. So we can go to edit mode from here. The shortcut for that is very easy. It's tab. Tab is one of the most important shortcuts. And the other most important shortcuts, it's Shift A, but I will tell you a little bit later what is it for. So when we go to edit mode, as you can see, let's go to object mode back. We can go to object mode and edit mode just like this. Nothing changes, nothing will happen if you go to one mode to another. It doesn't matter. You can go and go back. It's just a mode. So we can work in edit mode. Now everything is selected on our cube, but we don't want that. We want to select only one vertex, for example, to move it, just to see how it works. So we just click outside the cube. Now nothing is selected. And now we click the vertex and we can move it. But how to move it? I cannot just grab it and move it. What's happening? So the way to move it is to go here and grab this transform. It's very interesting because this transform allows you to move on different axes. Control Z if you want to come back. For example, if you move it like this and then Control Z to move it back into position. Control Z is, undo. So you can rotate it, but in order to see the rotation, of course, you need to grab at least 2 vertices. So I grab those, I drag and grab those, and I can rotate them if I want. I don't know what it will be useful in this case. I can grab all those upper vertices and just rotate them on this axis, and you see something like this happen. It doesn't matter for us that much, but this is how you do it. So these are your tools here. What are the tools? Let's go quickly over them. When you learn the shortcuts, it will be, for example, I don't look at those tools anymore here. I don't use them. I use the shortcuts for those tools. So let's go to the first. This is add cube. We don't care. Extrude region. Extrude region. And as you can see, the shortcut is E. Extrude. E. Very easy. So if we want to extrude something, we have to select, for example, we can extrude a vertex. Yes, I press E and I move and I extruded this vertex. But we don't want that. This is not useful. We have to be able to select a polygon. Now, let me show you here in the upper left of the screen, you have 3 little icons. They are a little bit hidden, but they are there. So first mode is selecting vertices. Now we are on this mode. Second mode is selecting edges. So now we can select edges individually and move them, which is great. The third mode is selecting the whole planes, the polygons. So this cube is consisted of 6 polygons as a whole, which is normal. Every cube is like 6 sides. And each we can select, we can move it on a certain axis. We can even rotate it like this. It's amazing. But we don't want that. What we want is the shortcuts for those things here are 1, 2, 3. So 1 is for vertices, to select vertices. 2 is to select edges. 3 is to select polygons. I will tell you when I go to select polygons, to select objects, vertices or edges. You don't have to worry about this at all. So now what we need is to learn how to extrude. It's very interesting how to extrude. So we go to 3, which is polygons. We select this polygon and we need to extrude it. So either we go here, extrude region, and then just drag it, and this is extrude, or Control Z, and then we select it. We go back to our to this thing. Let's see. Okay, we haven't extruded it yet. Control Z, and we press E on our keyboard. So learning the shortcuts is very important. So E extrude is very easy. I inset. E extrude. So now I will teach you how to inset. So we have extruded this. Now I want to inset the polygons. Let me show you how. I press I, and then I just drag my mouse without pressing anything. Just drag it, and it will do this. I press, and I accept it with pressing. And now we have this. I can rotate around it. I can shift to move it, and control to zoom in and out. Again, we have to do this often just to see what's happening. By the way, we don't need this light here and this camera. We cannot select them now because we are on the edit mode of this object. So we are inside this object. We cannot select other objects very easy. We can definitely select them, but by Alt Q, but not these objects. They have to be another object, whatever. So I want to disable the visibility of those objects just to not see them because they will distract me. So we'll go here in the upper right, and I will just click the eye icons beside those objects, the camera and light. And now they are invisible. They are there. We can always make them visible, but in order for everything to be more nice, I will disable them. So now I will go again. Selected is the polygon select mode, and I want to extrude this up. So I will press E and extrude. Then I will press I and move a little bit, click, then E extrude and click with the left mouse button. And now you see this is something like a tower. And I can continue with this I and E and I and E and I and E until we have this very much nice, amazing tower here. So this tower is amazing, but what if we want to make some kind of windows or something like this? So let's try that. So in order to make windows or cuts, or as we say it, edge loops, we have to go to the next tool, which is loop cut. Loop cut is Control R, is the shortcut. So there are a lot of shortcuts, as I said, but there are also, when you hover your mouse over the thing, you can see extrude is E, bevel, inset is I, like we already did. Bevel is Control B. Loop cut is Control R. So let's try to loop cut this. Control R, and you see one loop appears. But now, if we move our mouse, it will start to put the loop in different positions. But we want it here, so we keep our mouse on this edge. And now we click once. When we click once, now the loop is, we can move it along the edge. So we can put it wherever we want. If we want to put it here, we click left mouse button. If we want to put it everywhere else, Control R, click once. If I want to put it in the middle back, I will click the right mouse button and it will go back to the middle. Okay, so the next thing I will show you how to make multiple edge loops. So Control R and then press nothing, just scroll with the scroll wheel and you will see a lot of them. So click once, left click, click twice, left click, and now you have multiple edge loops. Very nice. We can Control R again and make multiple edge loops like this. And now we can make something like windows. Let's try. So select one polygon here, Control select here, and with Control, let's select all of them. So Control, what Control does is when you select one polygon and when you select another polygon here, with Control, it selects the shortest path through your object to this polygon. If you are selecting with Shift, it will select just those polygons that you click. But with Control, it's easier to select bigger objects because it just selects the whole path to the other polygons. Let's try from here to here. You see, this is the shortest path according to our Blender. So now we can inset. Let's try. Press I and inset. But now I want to inset each individual thing. So I will press I again and you see what happens. So I, and I can still move my mouse. I haven't pressed anything on the mouse. I press I and then I click when I'm ready. And now what we can do is extrude this inward. And now we have something like windows. Amazing stuff. So these are just basics of the modeling in Blender. Of course, to make our rabbit, we have to go to the modeling. We have to go through a lot of sculpting also. But of course, I will lead you through the whole process. It's not a big issue. So for now, we have just, getting familiar with the whole process. You can make whatever you want. For example, I can go back to object mode by pressing here and object mode, and then I can delete this object. Let me show you, because it's very important that you can delete objects, you can add objects over other objects, and you can also combine objects. It's very important. So let's do this. So to delete an object, I usually can press, of course, delete key, but I don't do this. I usually press X. X is giving you this little tiny confirmation window, but it's also very close to my left hand. My left hand is usually pressing the Control Shift Alt and all the keys that are close here, and X is very close and it's very convenient. So I delete this. Now, one more shortcut, which is one of the most important shortcuts. is how to add an object. Of course, you can always go to add here on the top left, mesh, and add whatever mesh you want. You can add a plane, cube, circle, sphere, whatever. Usually, if I want to make an organic object, I add a sphere, usually. So let's add a sphere. The other way to add a sphere or any object is to Shift A. Shift A is your shortcut, and the good thing is that Shift A is very nice shortcut. It's very close to your left hand. The Shift and A are very close together, and when you press it, under your mouse it appears this window, add mesh, and you can add another sphere. So now we have two spheres, and you can see them here, sphere and sphere 001. So two spheres is okay. We can make a snowman, for example. So you can always move objects in object mode, like we are now. I don't recommend that, but it's not a big issue if you do that. So I will move this, I will scale this. How to scale it? Scaling overall, you can then do it by pressing the scale here and try to grab the inner circle and scale, which is a little bit, I don't like this. I like to press S. So pressing S on the keyboard and just move the mouse a little bit, it will allow me to scale. So G in Blender is the shortcut for grab. So if I press G, I can move this around. And of course, if I move it around, it will not move on certain axis. So now, for example, if I drop it here, it will be like in an awkward position. So I'll press Ctrl Z. If I want to move it on a certain axis, I have to press G and then the name of the axis. And the name of the axis, of course, sounds very complicated, but you see green and red. And you see here that red, up here in the kind of rightish corner, you can see that the red is X, Y is green. So if you want to move it on the Y axis, what you will do? Press G, start to move it, and then lock it on the Y axis by pressing Y on your keyboard. But for example, you say, oh no, I wanted to move it on the X axis. So just now, without pressing anything on your mouse, you press X, and now it's locked on X. But you say, oh no, I wanted to move it on Z axis. You press Z, and now you move it on the Z axis. So it's that easy. Now I will scale it a little bit, and then I can even duplicate it with Shift D. Of course, those shortcuts I'm telling you because they are pretty easy to remember. You know, scale is S, grab is G, which is moving, grabbing, and yeah, rotation obviously is R, but we don't need to rotate right now. We need to move to duplicate this and then move it up. So duplicate will be Shift D. Now it's duplicated, and when you duplicate, immediately when you move your mouse, it will start to move your duplicated mesh. Of course, we can use that by just pressing Z and then just aligning it, and then press the left mouse button to accept, and we will have this. Now, I will scale it a little bit, and we will have our snowman. So amazing snowman, as you can see, we can rotate around it and see it, everything. Now, it needs to have a nose, for example. The nose will be a cone. How to press to put a cone there? You have to do these exercises in order to get better. I mean, the more you work, the more you do, like a snowman, a car, a simple plane, building, a tree, bench, chair, whatever you want. The more you do those, the more exercise you have in the program, the more comfortable you will feel at some point. You see, it's very nice. So let's Shift A again to add an object, Shift A, go to a cone, so mesh, cone, and now we have a cone. We can move it up, we can rotate it. And another thing, when you rotate it, in order to rotate it 90 degrees, exactly 90 degrees, you rotate it a little bit on the side you want to rotate, and then you go on the lower screen just behind me here, and you press this. And now you see, just behind me is this, and you just press 90. And then it's exactly 90 degrees. But you have to do it immediately after rotation. So let me tell you again, because this is important. Control Z. So now I moved it here by dragging it on the Z axis with this. Now I want to rotate it. I rotate it just a little bit. It doesn't matter, whatever, this much. And then I open this window behind me. Let me just move. And then here I click and I write 90 and enter. You see? And now it's exactly 90 degrees. And now I press S, make it small, move it here. And then how to make it look like a carrot more? We have to go to edit mode. So edit mode on each object you can go by pressing tab on your keyboard. It's very easy. Pressing tab, edit mode. Pressing tab again, object mode. So tab, 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 tab. You have to, in order to work fast in Blender, you have to do it. Pressing tab, go to edit mode. Then just select this polygon and S to scale it down. And now I can move this polygon in and we have our nose exactly where we want it. Of course, you can always go back to object mode, for example, select one of those spheres, duplicate it, move it around, scale it down, press it here, and this will be your one of the eyes. And to make the other eye, we can use a modifier, mirror modifier. But maybe not get too ahead of ourselves, but let me show you how to use the mirror modifier. Now, since I have moved this in object mode, the mirror modifier will not work. Let me show you. So this is the modifier window here, which is the wrench icon. Now I want to put a mirror modifier on this object, so we have another eye. Okay, add a modifier. And now you will be scared. I know you will be scared. I know some of you will jump out of the window or something like this, but don't do this. Don't do this. Don't be scared. All those modifiers are okay, but from all those modifiers, we're using like 5. So I will show you the modifiers that we're using is mirror, solidify, subdivision surface. Mostly that. The others, not so much. So in this case, we will use the mirror modifier, which is in the middle of the second column. Mirror modifier, one of the most used modifier. When we press it, you will see that nothing will happen. Why? Because the origin of the object is inside the object, since we have moved the object in object mode with its origin. If we have moved the object only in edit mode, the origin will still be in the center of the screen, and then it will be, the mirror will do something. In this case, it will not do anything. So what can we do? Very important, listen very carefully, this is very important here that I will show you. The shortcut is Control A. Control A will allow you to apply the transformations that you have done to the object in object mode in order for this object to be in the place that it is, it will be there, but its origin will be in the center of the scene, which is nice for mirroring and symmetry. So apply all transforms, and now you will see that we have our mirror, but it's a little bit wrong in this case. So I will disable X and enable Y. And now we have something like eyes. So we have a mirror of this, of the first object here. So if we go to edit mode on this, we will not be able to select the mirror object. We will only be able to select our object. Also, one more thing very interesting. If you want to select this, you can select it like this, but then you will see that you are selecting only the front polygons that are in your side. In order to select the back polygons, you have to press Alt-Z. Alt-Z is enabling you to see transparently, and in this way you can select the whole object. Or if you have only one object in this edit mode, like I did now, you can just press A to select everything and then A 2 times to deselect. So A to select, A 2 times to deselect. If you have multiple objects, for example, by the way, now my zoom is strangely made so I will press home just to reset the zoom level, and I can now zoom. So home, very important key. Now, if I want to have a smile, for example, Let me press A to select everything, Shift D to duplicate it, and put it down here. Now I'm moving it, and now Shift D to duplicate it again, and Shift D to duplicate it again. So we have a smile, okay, but now in this edit mode, in this object, we have few objects inside. If I press A, I will select all of them. How to select only one of them? You have to hover your mouse or just click on one of them and then press L. This is not the most comfortable shortcut because L is far away from all the other keys. I mean, it's far, but it's inevitable. If you want to select an object inside an object, you have to press L. You can select multiple objects just by hovering and pressing L, or you can click to deselect everything and press L, click and press L, click and press L. This will allow you to move and make some things to many different objects. So for now, I think this will be it. In the next video, I will show you how to adjust your tablet and how to make just a few modifications of the brushes in sculpt mode, and we will see how the sculpt mode works. I will even probably make one human head, but don't worry, you will not have to do that because it's a little bit advanced, but I will just show you how this works. And also I like making heads, so yeah. In the next, we can press tab to go out of this mode. We can save this file, save often, by pressing Ctrl S, and then here we can save it as 02 and then save Blender file. You have to remember where you save it, by the way. When you press Ctrl S, now it's saved. Ctrl Shift S will allow you to see where it's saved. Now in my case it's desktop character crafting something, and then inside it's here, it's 02. So you have to know where you save the file, of course, but it's okay. Now see you in the next video where we will continue, and it will be great.